It's actually, I'm sharing the screen right now. Yeah. So, anyways, for those of you who just joined us live, if there's any of you, this is our monthly Utah Android meetup. Let me open up the slides and we'll get started here. Should be over here. Oh, I hope that is what is broadcasting. Here, let me come over here and double check. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for coming out. We have what I think is going to be a pretty awesome talk. I'm pretty excited. Brian Wernick is going to be talking to us about media playback. Before we get into that, though, here's just a quick agenda. So help yourself to the pizza. In a second here, we'll go around and make introductions as people are kind of filing in. Also in here, at some point, we can also, maybe before I give my talk, we can talk about potential jobs or openings that people have. I know currently here at Vivint, we have an open Android position, and we also have an open iOS position because I know some of you in here like to wear both hats. So if you're interested in that or want details about that or anything like that, just let me know and I can point you in the right direction. And with that, we can start on introductions, and if anyone else comes in while we're doing it, you can grab them. I'll start. I'm Jake Stokes. I work here at Vivint Smart Home. I've been doing Android development since, I mean, it hasn't been a long time, but probably August of 2013, I want to say, is when I started. I really enjoy Android, and I organize a lot of these with a couple other guys, and yeah.
I'm Brian. I work here at Vivint on the Space Monkey front, doing Android and iOS development. I'll actually be the one that's giving the media playback talk a little bit later. So that's it.
Cool. I'm Jed Ashford. I work for VidAngel. I moved here last year to help them with mobile development. So I've got depth in Android and Roku, but help lead all of our platforms, iOS, Roku, Podcast. So yeah,
Android TV,
Fire TV.
Cool.
I'm Lexi, and I work just like 2 minutes away from driving, and I'm an Android developer.
I'm Jordan Hansen. I'm Android developer at Village Church out in Emerson.
Ryan Taylor. I don't have a job at the moment. Still, I'm an Android developer. Been doing it for a year now.
I'm Taylor Wilcox. I'm an Android developer at ExoMedia. We're still hiring.
I'm Taylor Allen. I'm also at VidAngel. I've been doing Android there for about 2 years.
I'm Jared McDonald. I'm also at VidAngel. We came together. I'm actually not an Android developer. I'm the director of engineering, but I'm also the streaming engineer. So the subject matter.
Oh, cool.
Playback is what kind of piqued my interest. I also do a lot with Google. I'm the Google Developer Experts program. So I work a lot with some of the engineers on web media playback, both on desktop, laptop, and on mobile devices. So I'm interested in a lot of the stuff that I think you guys are going to be talking about here. So, one of the reasons why these guys came as well, we're hiring also, not formally, but we are looking for good Android.
Jeff, nice.
Yeah, we just hired Jeff.
Really work.
Nothing 10 years ago now. I've been doing Android for about a year and a half. I work for the LDS Church as well, with Jordan and Jeff, who are heavy users of the media playback stuff Brian will show. And they love it. I don't use it as much. My app doesn't use video. I do the LDS Tools app if you've ever used that.
Oh, sweet update. So good.
It was fun. Got some help from these guys. It's a lot of fun. I guess that's another thing.
So I'm Jeff Campbell, developer of this church on Android. My app is Playback. And yes, we use Android stuff.
There you go.
He did a lot of work for us when it's absolutely fantastic.
We needed a solution.
And I'm Brian Pratt. I'm not an Android guy. I'm just here for free. So,
Cool.
I'm a front-end developer. I work for Power School.
Mhm.
As a hobby, I develop some Android apps.
Cool.
I'm Jake Wilson. I'm an Android developer at IMSI. I'm one of the co-leaders of this meetup with Jake and Eduardo.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Awesome. So I'll jump into I have just a quick little talk on object animators. Some of you might recognize some of the stuff I'm going to show. If you were at one of the meetups a few months ago, I gave a short talk on a circular reveal animation. So I wanted to kind of show. So at Vivint, we use a lot of animations in our app. We think that they delight the user. Some of the stuff is really cool. Like as you can see here, there's quite a bit going on. So this is actually a thermostat, and we have these different states associated with the thermostat. And so this one is, it's using location and some different things to detect that I'm not at home. And we show this nice little scene of a car and stuff going by. So it's like, hey, you're away. And we have a couple of these. If you look, we've got vacation mode, which has like a little airplane flying through. And we've got sleep. This one's really cool. It's got like the clouds, and then if you see like the stars are blinking in and out, and so we'll just move this back to away because that's what we're in. But I just wanted to show you guys some of the tools that we use to do some of that, and I'm gonna show that in actually a different app. It's one I just threw together for this. This might look a little more familiar from a couple meetups ago because I showed you all how to do that. So let's jump into here. And if you look in here, I've got, so that reveal animation was actually happening here. There's like the Android SDK has provided this nice little create circular reveal, and you just pass it the view and some coordinates for where it needs to animate off of. And it'll hand you this animator, and you can do a lot of different things with animators, right? You can, add different interpolators, and you can set listeners so when the animation ends and all kinds of stuff like that. So the animator that it's giving you there can also be created using an object animator. And if you look right here, I don't know if can you guys see this okay? Do I need to zoom in a little bit, or?
You can zoom in a little bit.
I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. How's that? Is that better? Actually, I have it set so if I hold command and scroll, it'll do it. But I think a lot of people have told me you can pinch to zoom. Never worked for me. Never has. Oh, it just worked. Oh my gosh. I'm amazed. Anyways, so the really cool and kind of powerful thing about object animators is, and it's kind of like because like a lot of people don't like reflection. I kind of don't, but it does offer a lot of power because it uses reflection to do it. So on a view, you all know that there's a translation X property, right? And it has both a getter and a setter. So if you just had any object that you wanted and you wanted to animate really anything, all you have to do is have a property that is that, or you just have to have a member that is whatever you want to reflect, and then just do a setter and a getter, and then you can do this with it. And so most of the ones that you'd need for a view, you know, are already available, like translation, alpha, stuff like that. And but it's just it's really great because, you know, you could even animate a value that maybe isn't, you know, translation or something else. And so, you know, we use them pretty heavily. So if you can see here, this is the view that I'm going to be animating. This is the property I want to animate over. This is my start value, and this is my end value. And if you look, there's actually a number of these. Well, actually, you can see it better if I go like this. If I say object animator dot of, there's of ARGB, of float, of int, and there's just a lot of tools here to be able to animate just about anything that you want. And so now to show you what this particular animator is going to do, if I click on this, he just goes out like that. But yeah, so that's object animators really in a real quick talk. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to add? I'm sure a number of you use them as well. All right. No, that's fine. I mean, they're super simple. They're pretty powerful. And like I said, we use them all over because, you know, animations make your app fun. They make it awesome. I can show you a few more examples of where we're using similar animators. When you do this, if you watch the bar up here, it will actually hide. And that's using them. This whole screen is using them to animate everything in, and like as far as like, you know, their positions, and I think we're doing some scale animations, maybe not there. But also I think the crossfade there is using them. I'm trying to think. I think we also use them here in the cameras. Oh, look at that. Here we use that circular animation, and I think here we use just a translate. So it's pretty neat. Yeah, these are my birds in the house. So, but yeah, so I think we're using them here too. If you we wanted to simulate like a flash of a camera when you take a snapshot of the camera. So, of course. Well, it did, but here, this will be a cleaner. There you go. So it's just a view, and I'm setting the opacity, like I'm making it fully opaque, and then just fading it. It's just a all white view. I was like, hey, that will work, right? And it did. So yeah, that's just a quick overview on object animators. So yeah, I'll put together like a gist, like of a code sample of it, and share that in the Slack and on the website and on the meetup page, so that you guys can access it if you would like to. There's also a lot of documentation on it. But yeah, so that's object animators.
So you mentioned you use scene transitions too as well?
We have used scene transitions a little bit.
So you use animators more?
We use animators a lot more than we use scene transitions. Just because we feel like we get a little, like they're just a little more flexible.
Yeah, so is it harder to do the animators across like activities though? This scene transition, I haven't done much with it, but the scene transitions make it easier to
So-
go from like activity A to B or whatever.
I haven't really used scene transitions between activities. The only place where we're doing anything like that is here, and I'm using like the built-in, you know, you give it an element that you want to transition, and then it does it. For scene transitions, I have used it between just different layouts, and it's really smooth. But I mean, when we're doing stuff like bringing in, like if you're in here and we bring in that, we're just animating the view. So like this fragment,
It's actually just under,
it's a view that I've already loaded because I don't want the user to have to wait for that spinner and wait for this content. So I load it when we first come in. But yeah, I mean, we're also using object animators like here. So there's just a lot of different, there are a lot of different ways that you can use them. And everything I just said just came out of my front door, so. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's object animators. They're awesome. Use them. Your user will love the cool things you can do with them.
That one's pretty slick and easy. Have you found they're usually like that, or is that a pretty easy example? When I'm doing the transitions, I found sometimes when I use the easy ones, it'll work, and other times it's bad.
So I found that with transitions as well. Like because the transitions, it's like, okay, there's a few of these. With the thing that, like with object animators, since you are just animating like whatever property, it gives you, I feel like it gives you a little bit more that you can do easier. Like you just have a little more control over like what's happening because it's literally just going to take this this property on or this member and it's going to animate over its value. So it's just going to keep calling set and changing the value of that thing. So
There's no duration on that one. Is that a possibility?
Yeah. So all you'd have to do is you just take, like if I just grab and I say set duration, I can say, you know, I could say like 100 milliseconds, and then it's going to be really quick. So yeah, these object animators, they have all the things that you would expect them to, as far as like listeners, pause listener, interpolator. You can get the start delay, you can set a start delay, you can check to see if this animation is actually running. You can remove listeners if something happened and you don't want that, right? And you don't want whatever work was going to happen afterwards. Like it's pretty awesome. So yeah. As far as these versus scene transitions, I feel like they're two different tools for kind of different jobs. You could do a lot of things that you would do with scene transitions with object animators though, and do them in a way that is not really hard. Like it'd be pretty easy to take a page that was using scene transitions and then say, well, actually I want to use object animators. And to build it out, there would be a little bit more code written on your part, but you would have finer grain of control. So, yeah.
It's good to know.
Yep. So, any other questions? I noticed we had a couple other people come in. So, but yeah, like I said, I'll provide samples for this and everything else. And if that's it, then we'll switch over to Brian. Let me, I'm actually going to unplug here and I'll just let you put it up here, and then I'll also hand off, yeah, in the call so that they don't have to not see what you're going to show in the broadcast and in the video later. Speaking of, Hangouts on air is a pretty good way to do this stuff. And you're going to want to turn on your mic, and I'll turn off mine. All right. Let me turn off my mic.
All right, give me a second while I. Hey, there you go.
That was my bad.
Oops. Oh, come on.
Feel free to share your screen on the Hangout.
Yeah, that's I'm just getting everything set up first. Which side is it on? Where do I specify the
What?
screen? Oh, there it is. I found it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Ready? Where's my thing? Okay, so I'll be talking about media playback, more specifically how conforming to standard practices on the Android OS can kind of help you and your app stand out among other apps that do media playback. I'll be focusing more on standard audio, such as audiobooks or music, and just standard video playback, not focusing on things like notification sounds or in-app game playback sounds. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Why is this not working correctly? Okay, so there's 4 main topics I want to talk about, and I need to change this so I can actually see what I'm looking at. Or not. The first one is audio focus. This is essentially just when you need to request, when you need to give up audio focus, and you need to pay attention to whenever that changes. The second one is wake locks. There's 2 different types. There's screen wake locks, and then there's network wake locks, and I'll go over when to use each of those and why both of them are necessary in certain cases. The third one is notifications and externals, such as your Android Wear watches, your Bluetooth accessories, so any headsets or your car or Android Auto. And then the last one is just going to be kind of mentioning services a little bit and talking about why you should be using them whenever you're doing media playback. And then following that, I'll go in a little bit more in depth into implementations with the ExoPlayer, why you should be using the ExoPlayer over the Android native video view, and some other advantages onto those other than adaptive streaming technologies. So the first main topic is audio focus. Essentially, this is, on Android, there's one app that typically has the focus. There are cases where you can have 2 apps with the focus, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Essentially, whenever you want to do audio playback, whether it's to play videos, whether it's to play audio, whether it's to just do some notification sound, or if you're getting ringtones for like doorbells that he just kind of showed us, you want to request audio focus so that any other app that's currently playing will stop playing. If you don't do that, you'll get a case where the other app actually has the system's audio focus, but then you start playing and it'll garble it up. And that's a really good way to have people uninstall your app within minutes.
So it doesn't play, but it won't play at the same time.
So when you request, so if you don't request, it'll go ahead and play it. It doesn't care. But you should be requesting it so that it informs the other audio playback app or video playback app that, hey, it lost focus. So you request this whenever you want to start playing.
and then you abandon it whenever you're done playing, whether that's because your app's been quit or you're just done playing it or for some reason it stopped.
Brian, does the other app automatically start back up?
It can in some cases, and I'll go over that a little bit.
Or is it the other app?
Both. And then when you, let's see, make sure I have my IDE over here. Make sure I'm sharing this screen. Yes. Okay, so when you want audio focus, let's zoom in a little bit for those in the back. It's pretty simple. You just request the audio focus by getting the audio manager, which is a system service. And then there's 3 parameters you pass in when you're requesting it. The first one is a callback that will get informed whenever any status changes. So whenever you lose focus, whenever it's a transient, which I'll go over, whenever you can dim, or whenever your focus has been granted. Now, your focus can be granted immediately, and that's what this status is. You just want to check and make sure that it's been granted. Sometimes if there's a phone call and you request audio status, it's not going to grant it because the phone call definitely takes precedence in that matter. So just pay attention to that when you actually want to start doing any media playback. The second one is the type of audio you're going to be playing. I usually use music, but there's also ones for notification sounds, ringtones. There's actually one for phone calls, and there's a few other ones. So you just pick whichever one is pertinent to your situation, and then use that. And that can also have minor changes to what your callbacks will say.
Hey, Brian, while you're going, making sure you tell us what you listen to. So, as far as like audio manager, is that?
Well, yeah. So Audio Manager is Google's.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna mention my libraries later, but I'm not gonna. Yeah.
This is all. Can you somebody else taking audio focus? Well, phone can, right?
No, not really.
But
I mean, you can try. Essentially, a lot of apps that want to do that, they will monitor any changes, and when somebody else says, "Oh, sorry, you lost permission," they'll immediately request the permission. And that's one workaround. I'm not sure if there is a way to say, "Hey, I'm a phone app," and that may give you precedence. I'm not sure. Yes. And then the third one is the type of audio focus that you want. The main one is gain, and this just means you have the main audio, the single audio focus on the device. There are 2 others that are really useful. There's audio focus gain transient, and this is if you're going to play a notification, or if you're a phone app and somebody's calling in and you want to do that ringtone, and then throughout the conversation, that'll be transient. So transient just means that it's temporary, and whatever app had the audio focus beforehand, when you abandon the focus, if you're transient, it'll inform the previous app that it can continue playing. Now there's the audio focus gain transient and may duck. Duck just means that the other audio app can continue playing, but at a lower volume. You don't always want to do that. So if you're doing like an audiobook or listening to a podcast, if you are the app that can duck, you probably don't want to do that. If it's just playing music in the background, then it's perfectly fine. So. Yeah. Right, and so this whole system is just, you're abiding by best practices on the system. Like there is no way on Android to say, hey, I'm playing, everybody else shut off. You can say, I'm going to play, you gave me access, I'm going to play, but there are apps that can go, I don't care, I'm going to continue playing. So that's requesting audio focus.
abandoning the focus is pretty simple. You just say abandon the focus, you check the status again. If it's been granted, then you've lost focus, and then you also have the callback if you want. Let's go back to this. So the callbacks is the on audio focus change that you're seeing is the one method that you get in the callback methodology, in the callbacks. The focus change has about 8 or 9 different cases. The main ones you want are these 4 on the screen. The audio focus gain. Again, this happens if you request it, but it doesn't happen immediately because some other app is more pertinent. Or it happens if somebody else gains a transient audio focus, and then once they're done, then you'll get the gain. And so you usually just want to start or resume your playback here. Or in the case of a duck, then you just want to increase your volume back to the original full volume. The second one is the audio focus loss. This is a permanent loss. This will happen when somebody else requests just a standard gain for music or one of the other more standard ones. There's the audio focus loss transient. Again, we just talked about that. If it's a notification sound or if it's a ringtone or something like that, then it'll be a transient loss. And then the can duck is just the same thing, but you can decrease the volume instead of stopping playback if it's appropriate for your app. Kind of on, and so dealing with the audio focus, the Android Video View somewhat supports it, which in my mind is worse than not supporting it, because they will request, the Android Video View will request audio focus when it starts playing, and then when it stops playing or pauses, it'll abandon audio focus, but it won't pay attention to any focus changes. So if a phone call comes in and you're using the Android Video View, it will continue playing. So you can use these callbacks and try to set up a system yourself that'll interact with the video view, but it gets into weird cases because you can't disable it on the video view. So if you say play on the video view and then you request the gain here, it's going to work fine. But if you request the gain here and listen to loss callbacks and then you request your video view, you're going to lose callbacks through your manager, and so you're going to probably go and pause it. So you just need to be aware of that when you're using the Android Video View. I don't know. What should you use? Uh-oh, I just turned my screen off. I need to watch where my mouse is next time. There we go. Yep. All right. So the second one I was going to talk about is the wake locks. There's the view or activity wake locks, which is really your screen wake lock. You can enable it through the activity, either through requesting a flag on the window manager, and while this activity is up, the screen will just always be on unless the user clicks the power button. And then you can also have this handled through a view. And in views, there is a method called set keep screen on. And if you set that to true when you're using it, then it'll automatically keep the screen on when it's useful, and then you can turn it off when you want. The Android Video View and pretty much any video library that you're using will automatically do this for you. So when you're playing, it'll acquire a screen lock, and then when you're not playing, it'll release it. The second one is the network or Wi-Fi wake lock. And this actually requires the wake lock permission in your manifest. If you don't do this, you're going to get a crash. But this is useful for keeping your Wi-Fi and your cellular modem active, and instead of going into a low power state. So if you're streaming media over a network, you want to keep this on, otherwise your video will degrade, or if you're not using an adaptive playback, it'll probably just stop and buffer for a while and then play 5 seconds and then pause and buffer again. So you want to make sure that you're keeping the network wake lock on whenever you're streaming. Now again, you don't want to be using it when you're not streaming over the network. So if you're playing videos off of your local device, you want to abandon the wake lock. So the third one was the notifications, the Bluetooth, and external handling. This is pretty, it's actually pretty simple. I don't know. I've seen a lot of apps that don't handle it completely, and it really bugs me. So there's whenever you're playing media, you want to provide standard notifications to the user, especially if you're playing media when your app is not in the foreground. So if they can close the app and you continue playing media and you don't have a notification, I'm going to uninstall that app right away. It's really irritating when you have to go searching, kind of like you used to do with Chrome tabs. You're like, which one's playing the audio? So just be nice and give them the standard functionality of the play, pause, the next, the previous. And then if you want to give them the extended functionality that you get with a lot of apps like Google Play Music or Spotify or Pandora, then you can add the ability to actually stop the service through the notification. On the big notification here, you can see the X that can stop the service. Or you can also set it up so when your media is paused, you can actually swipe away the notification. And those are pretty standard. The lock screen support is getting less and less important because as of Lollipop, it just uses the standard notifications. So you need to make sure that you have the visibility public as your permission level on your media playback notifications. Otherwise, the user will just see a notification saying, one notification from blank app, and you won't be able to control anything. But before Lollipop, you wanted to provide the ability for users to control media playback through a lock screen. And you can do this through the media session, which is actually that third bullet. And you just pass it like the album artwork, the app ID, some information like the album, the artist, artwork, your buttons you want, so the play, pause, the next, the previous. And then that media session or the media session compat, which is the one you should really be using, it will provide all that functionality for you.
If I'm not media session, or this lock screen stuff was only around.
No, so the lock screen stuff was, yes, it was through Ice Cream Sandwich, from Ice Cream Sandwich to Jelly Bean, through Kit Kat, sorry. I think it's quite ugly, and that's part of the reason they went away from it. So Bluetooth and your other externals, I kind of purposely skipped those because that's all handled through media session compat. As long as you specify the information, so the buttons that you want to provide, the next, previous, play, pause, your album, your artwork, your title, that'll all be handled for you. So when you connect to Bluetooth, it'll automatically pass off that image and then it'll play through the Bluetooth speakers or Android Auto. When you plug it in, it'll automatically show up the UI and you can play and pause and do your standard functionality that way. So there is one thing that is not handled by any of this that you really should pay attention to, and that is the audio becoming noisy intent. What this means, this is just a broadcast that the system sends out whenever you unplug headphones or you disconnect from speakers. So anytime that your phone's audio is going to come out the speakers when it wasn't previously, it's going to send a notification. Typically, you'll just want to pause your audio or video playback when that happens because it's most likely just headphones have been pulled out accidentally. Yes, so you need to add an intent receiver or a broadcast receiver, and then I usually just have that send a specific intent to my service, and then the service will handle whatever it needs to do. Usually it just calls pause.
No, so you'll just have to have an intent filter on that, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
captions.
you filter it for that one specific audio becoming noisy intent through the system. The fourth main bullet point is services. You should really be using them. They allow you to you can actually swipe your, kill your app and the service will still be running, so you can still be listening to music without your app actually be running that portion of it. If you want to get into semantics, yes, your app is actually technically running, but that's a different story. It's just how services work. And then if you've built up your media, so your audio and video playback around a service paradigm, then it allows you to extend, like adding Chromecast will become a lot easier. You can probably add Chromecast functionality within a couple of hours if you've set up your service correctly. Now, if you want more specific functionality in your Chromecast capabilities or like mirror casting or stuff like that, then it'll take longer. All right, any questions up until that point? No? Okay. So this is where we kind of move more towards the more in-depth of ExoPlayer and adaptive streaming protocols. So there's three main ones. There's HTTP live streaming, or HLS. There's smooth streaming and MPEG-dash, or dash. Dash is the actual name. MPEG-dash is more commonly used just because it's from the MPEG consortium. HLS is owned by Apple, and they've done an international standard submission, but it has not been accepted, and it's just been sitting there for years. So HLS was created because they wanted an adaptive playback format that would follow their practices and the codecs that they use. So .mov, .mp4, H.264, just kind of some more standard ones. And how it works is you have a manifest file, which is what you actually pass to your video player, and it'll handle the rest for you. But you pass it this manifest, and what this is a list of qualities. So you can have a 1080p quality, and then a 720p, and then a 540, and a 240. And it'll use this, and then there's a bandwidth monitor that it uses to determine what your network quality is. And it'll automatically determine which of these video qualities it can use. It does this by breaking each video into segments that are like 15 to 20 seconds long. And once it hits the end of one, it has already determined what the next one is and started buffering it. So if you could switch to a higher quality, it'll typically go to the higher quality. And that's with HLS when you see a fairly smooth transition. There's another way that it can switch is if you buffer a small segment really quickly, it'll probably go and say, okay, I'm going to download that same segment in a higher quality. And then it's going to try to quickly swap those out. And you'll notice usually a frame drop or two, and you'll notice that there is a stop in the audio in that case. So that's usually when you get a stuttering of your video playback. Now, HLS is actually one of the more annoying adaptive playback formats, because the way that it's organized, the first item that's in your manifest file, which a lot of companies and organizations put as the lowest quality, is the first one that it uses. So if you're playing a video, it'll select that first one, and it's going to be the lowest quality, even though you have like a LTE network and you can stream the full 1080p. So you're going to be playing this video for 20 seconds at the lowest quality, and then it's going to switch to the highest quality, which is really not what you want your users to have. And especially if you're playing like a 2-minute long video, then they've missed half of the video to low quality. So that's my opinion on HLS. There's smooth streaming, which is actually owned by Microsoft and requires an IIS installation. This one's a little bit more open. They don't have an international standard submission, but it follows some of the more standard formats, so MP4, M4V, .m. I don't remember what all their formats are. It has a similar structure to HLS, where it has a manifest file with all the qualities laid out, and then it uses the bandwidth monitor to determine which one of those qualities it needs to switch to. But it handles those swaps much more smoothly, just because of the way that the architecture of it is set up. So it'll still block into segments, but when it swaps out, it does it in between frames, and it does it in a way where it does first the audio frame or the audio sequences, and then it'll switch the video frames, or vice versa. So it's not trying to do both at the same time and cause stuttering. Yeah, there's not much more to smooth streaming than that. It's a great format. Yes?
Is that the switching between those formats, is that up to the implementation by the video player, or is that what the standard is?
It's up to the implementation of the video player. So how it swaps is pretty standard across all the adaptive formats. When it swaps, and the qualities that it determines with the swaps is what is pretty specific. Yeah, again, most video players have a pretty standard bandwidth meter implementation. And then the third one and last one is Dash. This was the first international open standard. And it's codec agnostic, so you can shove any audio or video codec in there that you want. So you can do MKV or MOVs, or you can do H.264s or AACs or FLAC or whatever you want to use. This is actually Google's preferred format for because it's open. This is what they use on YouTube, and that's actually where the ExoPlayer came from. They created the ExoPlayer for YouTube only using Dash, and then a year and a half after they created it, they open sourced it. And the ExoPlayer has just kind of gotten a lot more functionality since then. So if you have the option between these three, I would suggest going to Dash, because it's the most optimized version, and it's the open standard, and you're going to find a lot more support with Dash than you're going to with HLS, which is owned by Apple, or Smooth Streaming, which is owned by Microsoft. Additional ExoPlayer advantages. There's a ton of them out there, so I'm just going to kind of do some of the more important ones. The first one is full HD playback. If you didn't know, the Android Video View doesn't support full HD playback consistently. By full HD, I mean 1080p. It'll support 720p fairly consistently, but 1080p, high-end devices support it. Medium to low-end is who knows. And then there's many, many more supported formats with the ExoPlayer. Again, the way that it works is they've separated concerns of displaying it and parsing the codecs and managing it with users and your system, and your system level APIs. So if you want to add a new format that's not supported, which they actually support HLS, Dash, Smooth Streaming, and pretty much every format that the video view itself supports, except a couple of them, like our TSP. Huh? It does. It's on their list of supported. Anyways, that's a sidebar. So if you want to add a specific format, you can build your own render builder, which is just the codec parser, and supply that with your URL, or supply that in place of your URL. and then the video view the ExoPlayer will handle everything else for you. The ability to specify a texture view versus a service view. The Android video view uses a service view, and there's advantages and disadvantages to that, which I'll go over in a moment. I'll go over the disadvantages. So the surface view is very odd in that it doesn't follow any paradigms that any other view in Android does. When you have something on a surface, like a video, it's actually not on top of it. It's punched a hole through your activity and through everything, and is playing this video behind. So if you want to do an animation, it's not going to work because it's not going to animate that hole. You can't scale it correctly. So you can try scaling it, or you can do animations with it, and it might work. By the way, this is actually fixed on Android N. They've done a lot of changes in the service view on Android N. But so in 5 years we might be able to use it all.
Yeah, right.
Until then, we have the texture view. The texture view is similar to the surface view, but it follows the standard view paradigms. So it'll abide by animations performed on it. It abides by the hierarchy of views, so you can throw views on top of it, and it's not gonna, or behind it. Yeah, and it's not gonna look really bizarre. I think we talked about punching the hole last month with the animation of the Porter Duff stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned there. So the texture view is nice because you can ExoPlayer is nice because you can supply a texture view instead of surface view. And this will allow you to do any animation you want. So if you have a video view on your screen that's like half the screen and then you want to go to full screen, you can animate that instead of just going pop. There are downsides though. The texture view, according to the YouTube team, uses about 30% more battery than the surface view. And the texture view does not support all DRM content like the surface view does. So if you're using DRM media, then you want to use the surface view, or DRM videos, you want to use the surface view. Or if you're very worried about the amount of battery consumption you have, you probably want to use the surface view unless you want to do animations, in which case you're stuck with the texture view. And then just the ability to customize the ExoPlayer in general. It's very modular. You can, again, like I said earlier, you can add your own render builders, which are the codec parsers. You can add any UI on top of it. You can pull parts out because it's all open source and they've built it very modular. So you can their original idea is so that you can go and pull their demo player and actually use that. That's kind of what they recommend. And this is like a 700-line long file that you're pulling in, and if you have no idea what it's doing, it's kind of scary because it's 700 lines of code that you just put in your repo instead of a library. But it's nice because you can specify, oh, hey, I'm using a dash stream that has 4 different audio qualities and 6 different video qualities and a couple different closed caption versions. And you can actually ask the ExoPlayer to tell you what those are. And so you can list them and say, oh, you can select that one, and that one. And that's actually what YouTube does. So when you see those versions that you can select on YouTube, they're just showing you what these dash quality versions are, and you're just selecting which stream you're going to use. It's not like they have 5 different streams. It's one that they have different qualities for. So the ExoPlayer's quite wonderful in that aspect. So there's 2 libraries that I actually didn't mention as much as I thought I would during this talk. There is the first one, which is ExoMedia. That is a wrapper around ExoPlayer. Just FYI, both these are my libraries, so take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. If you don't like it, it wasn't my fault. So this wraps the ExoPlayer, ExoMedia does, with a fallback to the Android video view. It provides the ability to specify if you want to use a surface view backing or texture view backing in 3.1, which should be released probably within the next month. And it provides a host of other features like providing video controls for you that are automated, and you just pass it a URL and it'll determine what render builder it needs to use. Whereas with the ExoPlayer, you say, it ends with HLS, so I'll use that render builder, I hope, and it might work. So that's it for the ExoPlayer or ExoMedia. And then Playlist Core, all those notifications and Bluetooth and lock screen and all that support is handled by this library. So you essentially plug it in and give it a list of media items, and it'll work. As long as you add the service to your manifest. So, any questions on anything in general? Media playback?
How many stars is it?
ExoMedia has 640 right now.
So it plays
35-ish.
Wow.
That one doesn't matter.
Is there any other gotchas other than service in your
Sorry, what?
Is there any other gotchas other than service in your
Yeah, so you have to put the service in your manifest. You still have to handle the audio becoming noisy intent yourself because I don't know what your service name is or the package level or any other thing that you want to set up for that. But that's pretty much it. There's demo apps in both of these repositories, so you can go and look at those, and they're pretty simplified. The ExoMedia one is more complex than it needs to be because Playlist Core actually used to be inside of ExoMedia, and that's two functionalities in the library, so I separated them.
So you're saying it's more complicated?
Yeah, because it includes the service.
Right.
So if I wanted to simplify it, I would just remove that service support from the ExoMedia, and then.
So if you want to follow a really good demo, go to Playlist Core and use that demo because it depends on ExoMedia.
Well, it's both ways actually.
That was both ways, but go Playlist Core is demo.
Yeah.
Does ExoMedia handle the wake locks?
Yes. Yeah, it'll automatically, the network wake locks. No. Yes, both actually. So if you have to request the wake lock permission in your manifest, and ExoMedia and Playlist Core actually both go, and before they try to acquire it, they'll check if you have that permission. If you don't, then they'll not acquire it. If you do, then they will. And then the screen wake lock is automatically handled by ExoMedia.
I was going to say, yeah, because
It'll just merge.
No, yeah, I could put it in there. I wanted to give the user the ability to say, yeah. Yes.
If you ever use video player, video view, ExoMedia is something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I'll just show you real quick. Oh, oops, I'm on the wrong screen. It's like, why are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Oh, this is really bizarre working on a different screen. Okay, so this is actually really how simple it is. You just include ExoMedia into your manifest or your Gradle, build.gradle. No, I did some weird key combination. Okay, so And then in your XML, you just specify that EM video view, and you can enable the video controls right there, or you can not do them, or you can do them in source code. No, not yet. That's something I'm not sure I'll get into 3.1. There's a few features that I'm trying to figure out which ones need to go in. And then in your activities on create, you just retrieve the reference, set the listener for when it's prepared, which is what this is, which will just start the video, and then you set the URI. And that's it.
I wasn't here at the beginning.
Sure.
Does it, to support real-time streaming?
RTSP?
Like, yeah.
Not out of the box. So that's something that Jake keeps talking to me about it. No, so what you can do though is if you go find a render builder for it, hint, there's one for VLC, you can actually use that and pass it in. So here, where I take this video URI, there's actually another method that you could call that you pass in the render builder, and then everything else would work just fine. Mm-hmm.
Not using VLC. We were very happy with VLCs.
Right. I think there's another one out there that you can use. I don't remember. I have a bookmark somewhere. Cool.
Does ExoMedia support those captions?
Not yet. It's an issue that I've been working on. Yeah, it's as much as I like working on this, it takes a ton of time. Like it took about 7 months to do the 3.0 rewrite. So the 3.0, that was about a month ago or so.
But it is on GitHub, so if you want to do it.
Yeah, I'm always open for requests. Oh, this actually ExoMedia handles Amazon TVs, so Fire TVs. Previously, they used to not support ExoPlayer. However, they have fixed that since their Lollipop port. So I automatically check and see if it's Lollipop up, and I'll use the ExoPlayer backing. If it's below, then I'll use the native backing.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So what levels do I use the ExoPlayer? Just Lollipop and above, or probably at lower levels?
API 16 is when the ExoPlayer is available, and that's when it's used.
CTS compliant 16 by
Yes. So if you guys don't know, CTS is the compatibility test suite that Google requires anybody that has like Google Play services to pass. And essentially by passing that, that means that they follow all the protocols and standards that Google has laid out, and that means that we can use the ExoPlayer. Now the one that we know about, which is Amazon, that doesn't even try to pass the CTS because they don't care. They're the one that we know that can work with ExoPlayer, and because they're such a popular one, that's why there's a specific check in there for that. Any more? Where are we? Closing remarks. All right, I'm going to hand it back off to Jake. Actually, you can steal it, can't you?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I'm just gonna show a couple slides, and then we'll be done for the night. But really appreciate him taking the time to put that together. I thought that would be really good for us to be able to, woohoo, to see what's some of the stuff he's done with media playback. And but so what I would like to talk about is next time. We currently don't have a topic. If you have something that you would like to talk about, or if you have ideas, let myself, Jake Wilson, or Eduardo know, and we would be more than happy to get you set up. Next time will be on the 11th of August. We always do it on the second Thursday of each month, and we always just have it here. There's always pizza, and we're gonna keep doing it for the foreseeable future, just because I feel like there's a lot of value in this, and I've learned a lot coming to them. Also, if you're not comfortable with giving like a full length talk, and we do have the toolbox talks that we like to do, and as you saw today, it can be something very simple, very short, very small, but it's just, we like to have those be like something that you have in your toolbox that is, you feel like just would benefit any Android developer. And we've had them on a number of things, everything from like what we did. We had one that was on like Android permissions. We've had them on different animation stuff. Last time we had one on alpha compositing, which was really cool. It was like using Porter Duffs, and like as you saw from the example that I gave this time, you saw like the thermostat view, how you're animating that stuff inside that circle. We talked about how we cut that circle so that the things that we're animating didn't show up outside the circle. But that video is posted on the video for last time. If you missed it, is posted on the meetup page for that time, and also it's on our website, which is utahandroid.com. Also, if you want to join our Slack, just send an email to one of us three, or if you know somebody that's already in the Slack, just have them send us your info, and we'd be more than happy. We have an invite channel. This video will be posted in the Slack group, on the meetup, and on the website latest tomorrow. I will also have links to Brian's libraries and probably a little code sample from what I presented. Thanks everyone for coming out, and we look forward to next month. Anybody have any questions, or
Anyone here not on Slack?
that wants to be, or?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not on the channel. I'll send you.
Cool. All right, cool. So thanks.
Thanks, you guys, really.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Who did you work for?
I work for Vid.
He's on he works for Vivint. He's on the Space Monkey team. They do like our cloud storage. Yeah, and I work on the Sky.